I want you to picture someone, not just anyone. Picture the most intimidating person you know. And I'm not talking about physical intimidation.
No, not the guy who looks like you could wrestle a bear.
Exactly, not the guy at the gym who can bench press a Buick. I'm talking about a different kind of power, something much quieter.
The psychological kind, the mental kind of intimidation.
Yeah. We all know this person. Or, we've seen them. Maybe it's a colleague. Maybe it's someone you follow online. They're just consistent. And I don't mean goes to the gym 3 times a week consistent. I mean scary consistent.
The machine.
Right, the machine. The person who wakes up at like 4:43 in the morning every single day.
No, 4:45. It's always a weirdly specific time.
Yes, it's 4:43, and they execute the exact same routine. They eat the same breakfast. They sit down to work at the same exact moment. They never miss. They don't negotiate with themselves. And if we're being really honest with ourselves, when you look at them, it doesn't look inspiring.
No, not in that cheerful, motivational poster kind of way.
Not at all. It looks robotic. It looks a little bit unhappy, maybe, and it triggers this defense mechanism in us where we look at them and we think, man, surely that is not normal. That can't be a good way to live. It's almost frightening to watch.
It's deeply unsettling. And I think it's unsettling for a very specific reason. It's not because we genuinely think they're robots. No. It's because that level of consistency shines a massive, uncomfortable spotlight on a huge deficit in our own lives. It holds up a mirror, and we don't like what we see.
So we hate them because they make us look bad.
We resent them because they have transcended the one thing that we are all completely enslaved by.
Which is?
The negotiation, that little voice in your head. You look at that person, you realize they aren't using willpower in the way we understand it. They aren't motivating themselves with inspirational quotes or whatever. They're like running on a completely different operating system.
And that, I think, is the perfect door into what we are diving into today. Because I have to be honest, when I started reading through the research and the case studies for this deep dive, I was expecting the usual productivity stuff.
Right, the standard self-help buffet.
The same old stuff. Buy a nice planner, set an alarm, visualize your success.
Just do it.
Yeah, just do it. But this is something else entirely. The sources we're covering today aren't talking about hacks or tips. They're talking about a fundamental rewiring of the brain.
A system reboot.
Exactly.
Right.
We're looking at an ancient concept that explains how this robotic consistency is actually achieved. And spoiler alert, it has nothing to do with having type A genes or anything like that.
No, it's a specific system.
Yep.
A technology, really. And it comes from a tradition that knows a thing or two about discipline. We're diving into the concept of Gyoji.
Gyoji. Okay. I had never heard this term before I got the research packet. Break it down for me.
So Gyoji is a term from the Japanese Zen tradition. And, like a lot of things in Zen, the translation is deceptively simple. If you look it up in a dictionary, it translates to something like continuous practice.
Continuous practice. Okay. That sounds like something my piano teacher used to yell at me when I was 12. It doesn't exactly sound, life-changing.
And that's because the English translation misses the real gravity of it. It's not just the words. In the Zen context, there is a crucial modifier attached to that definition. It isn't just continuous practice. It is continuous practice without gaps.
Without gaps.
0 gaps.
Yeah.
The circle can never be broken. The promise of Gyoji is to build a system that essentially perpetuates itself. It becomes self-sustaining.
Okay.
The idea is that once this protocol is fully installed in your mind, and we're going to talk about how to install it, which frankly is painful, the goal isn't something you strive for anymore.
You're not trying.
You don't try to do it. It becomes something you simply do. It's like breathing. You don't wake up in the morning and think, okay, I'm really going to try to breathe today.
You just breathe. Wow. I mean, that sounds like the Holy Grail. Because let's be real, most of us are stuck in what I call the New Year's resolution purgatory.
Purgatory is exactly the right word for it. It's this endless loop.
It is. And the source material gave us the perfect protagonist for this deep dive, a guy named Raphael. And I have to say, reading Raphael's profile was deeply uncomfortable.
You saw yourself in him.
Oh, absolutely. I felt very seen, and I really didn't like it one bit.
Well, Raphael is the ultimate everyman for, the modern knowledge worker. He's smart, he's a successful programmer, has a great career. The guy isn't lazy. He works hard at his job. But his personal consistency in his own life.
Non-existent. A total graveyard of good intentions.
We've all been there. He'd start a new gym routine, go really hard for 2 months, buy all the expensive gear, the new shoes, the tracker, and then poof,
Gone. He'd start meditating, right. He'd download the app, get a 7-day streak.
You'd get the little notification, you're on a roll.
And then he'd miss one day, and that's it. Never opens the app again.
Or he'd buy a book, a really smart-sounding book, read the first chapter, feel super intelligent, and then it becomes a coaster on his nightstand for 3 years.
It's the cycle of failure. And if you really look at the timeline of his failures, and I think the failures of millions of people, it follows an almost universal law. It's a predictable pattern.
Completely predictable.
Walk us through that pattern.
Okay, so it always starts on Monday. Monday is day one. You have total unbridled motivation. You've had the weekend to rest and hype yourself up. This is the new me. This week, my life changes.
It's the high of the fresh start.
Exactly. The blank slate. Monday's easy. Tuesday's usually okay. But then comes Wednesday. The source material identifies Wednesday as the danger zone, the hump day.
Why Wednesday?
That's where the first mental negotiation begins. You're a little tired, the novelty is completely worn off, and your brain starts whispering, you know, maybe I'll just do a little less today. I worked so hard yesterday.
It's the first crack in the armor.
And once that crack appears, the whole dam breaks. By Friday, it's complete surrender. You skip it entirely. You tell yourself, I deserve a break. It's the weekend.
And then Sunday night rolls around. You're drowning in guilt, maybe a little bit of dread, and you reset the clock. Okay, for real this time, I'll start again next week.
And you repeat that cycle for years, decades even.
So why? I mean, Raphael's a smart guy. He tried all the tools. He had the habit trackers. He tried setting up reward systems. He even had accountability partners. Why do we always crash and burn by Friday?
Because Raphael, and most of us, are fighting the fundamental architecture of our own brains. We are bringing a knife to a gunfight, basically. He was treating the practice as a choice.
A choice.
Yes, a daily choice. He was waking up every single morning and asking himself a question. Do I feel like doing this today?
Which seems like a reasonable question to ask. It's my life. I should want to do the things I do.
It seems reasonable, but it's a fatal question. Because eventually, maybe it's on Wednesday, maybe it's on Friday, the answer is going to be no. You will be tired. You will be stressed. You will be busy. The conditions will never be perfect. If you give your brain a vote, it will eventually always vote for comfort.
Always.
Gyoji argues that you have to strip your brain of its voting rights. You have to, and this sounds extreme, but you have to kill the part of yourself that negotiates. You have to move from trying to being.
Okay. Strip your brain of voting rights. That is a very strong image. I like that.
Yeah.
But how do we actually do that? Because just stop negotiating is great advice, but it's much easier said than done. If I'm lying in my warm bed at 6 a.m. and it's cold outside, the negotiation starts automatically. I don't, invite it to the table.
You're absolutely right. You can't just will the negotiation away. That's using the same broken tool. You have to structure your reality, your entire environment, so that the negotiation can't even survive.
Structure reality. Okay.
And the source material says this starts with how we classify our commitments. It draws a razor-sharp line between two very different types of mental commitments, reversible and irreversible.
Reversible and irreversible. Okay, let's break those down. What's a reversible commitment?
A reversible commitment is private. It's a secret promise. It's when you look in the mirror on Sunday night and you whisper to yourself, okay, that's it. I'm going to start jogging tomorrow morning.
It's just between me, myself, and I.
Precisely.
Yeah.
It's kept entirely inside your own head. And because it's private, it is inherently safe. There are no stakes. It allows for that mental negotiation. If you don't end up jogging on Monday, who knows?
Nobody knows.
Nobody. You can just say, I was too busy this morning. I'll definitely do it Tuesday. The only penalty is a vague, low-grade sense of personal disappointment. And the thing is, humans are incredibly good at ignoring personal disappointment.
We are world champions at letting ourselves off the hook.
We can justify anything to ourselves. But an irreversible commitment. Now that is a completely different beast. That is public. It's absolute. And the source uses the powerful example of a Zen monk taking their vows.
Right. This part was really interesting. It's not just like filling out some paperwork.
No, it's a full-blown ceremony. When a monk vows to follow the path, he doesn't just whisper it to himself in his room. He stands before the entire community. He stands before his teachers, his peers. He stands before the statue of the Buddha. And he declares it out loud.
He's putting it on the public record.
He isn't promising to try to meditate. He is declaring, I am a meditator. He is fundamentally changing his definition of self in the eyes of his tribe. The moment he does that in front of witnesses, the option to just not do it today completely evaporates.
So the public part is the real mechanism. It's all about shame or social pressure.
Well, it's deeper than just shame. It's about survival. And this is where the source takes a fascinating turn into evolutionary biology. They reference a Harvard neuroscientist who spent 15 years studying social dynamics in the brain.
15 years. Okay, so what did they find?
They found that to the primitive lizard part of our brain, the amygdala, the really ancient structures, social failure is processed in the same way as a survival threat.
A survival threat. You mean like a tiger in the bushes?
Exactly like a tiger in the bushes. Think about our ancestral environment, say 50,000 years ago. If you were in a tribe of maybe 50 people and you were seen as unreliable, if you said, "I will guard the fire tonight," and you fell asleep, what happens?
You're in big trouble. You get kicked out.
You get ostracized. You lose status. And back in the Paleolithic era, if you were cast out of the tribe, you didn't just get lonely, you died, you starved, or you were eaten.
So we are hardwired deep in our bones to be terrified of what other people think of us.
We are hardwired to fear social inconsistency. When a goal is made public, failure transitions from being a personal disappointment, which we can handle, to a survival threat, which our brain will fight tooth and nail to avoid. Your brain kicks into a completely different gear because on a deep chemical level, it feels like life or death.
That makes a ton of sense. But okay, back to Raphael. He didn't become a monk. He didn't shave his head and move to a monastery. How did he actually apply this in his, normal life?
He hacked that tribal instinct. He finally realized that his private promises to himself were completely worthless. So he wrote a contract, a physical piece of paper. And the wording here, as you pointed out, is very, very important. It didn't say, "I will try to meditate."
No, I have it right here. It said, "I am a person who meditates 20 minutes every day at 5 a.m. for 90 consecutive days."
I am. That's identity language, not action language.
And this is the part that made me cringe a little, to be honest. He signed it, took a picture of it, and then posted it on every social media platform he had. He emailed it to his boss. He gave a physical copy to his girlfriend.
He burned the ships. There was no going back.
I can just imagine the reaction, though. If I walked into our office tomorrow and handed everyone a signed contract about my new meditation habits, they would look at me like I was having a complete breakdown. They'd be like, "Dude, are you okay?" They'd be like, "This is a Wendy's."
And that is exactly what happened to Raphael. The reaction wasn't a round of applause. His girlfriend, according to the source, called him dramatic. She said, "Why do you have to make this such a huge deal? Just do it." His coworkers made jokes about it. They told him he was trying too hard.
Which, for most people, that would be the end of it. That kind of social friction is usually incredibly discouraging. We want people to cheer us on, to say, "You go, girl." We don't want them to say, "You're being weird."
But here's the twist. In the context of Gyoji, that skepticism is the fuel. You want them to be skeptical. You want that pressure. Because, let's fast forward. It's day 3.
The dreaded day 3 hump.
The honeymoon phase is over. It's day 3. Raphael wakes up. It's 5:00 a.m. It's dark. It's cold. He's exhausted from the first 2 days. His warm bed feels like absolute heaven. And his brain immediately starts running the old negotiation script.
Just one day won't matter. You really need the sleep. This isn't healthy. You're pushing too hard.
You worked late yesterday. You deserve a break. The brain is so persuasive. But then, a new thought hits him. A thought that was never there before in all his other attempts.
The contract. The post.
If he stays in bed, he has to go online and post that he failed. He has to publicly admit that he failed after only 3 days. He has to look his girlfriend in the face, the one who called him dramatic, the one who rolled her eyes, and admit that she was right all along.
Oof. Yeah. That stings way, way more than just skipping a workout by yourself.
That is the lever. The intense pain of that social humiliation, the pain of proving all the skeptics right.
Yeah.
It suddenly outweighed the physical pain of waking up. The fear of admitting defeat was stronger than his desire to sleep.
So he didn't get up because he was inspired.
No.
And he didn't get up because he had some secret reserve of willpower.
Not at all. He got up because the alternative was unbearable. He weaponized his own insecurity. He trapped himself into success.
That's kind of dark, but also completely brilliant. He basically held a gun to his own head, using his Facebook friends as the trigger.
He realized that he couldn't trust his good self, his motivated self, to show up every day. So he used his fearful self to drive the car instead.
Okay, so he's up. The fear worked. He's out of bed because he's terrified of looking like a flake. But he's still tired. He's still just a human being standing in the dark at 5 a.m. And the source mentions that even with all that social pressure, There's another war going on internally. Getting out of bed is one thing. Actually doing the work is another.
And this brings us to the biological reality of the when. We have to talk about brain chemistry. Specifically, we need to talk about glucose and executive function.
Now, when I hear glucose, I just think sugar. I think candy bars.
Well, think of it more like metabolic currency. Or maybe a better analogy is the battery charge in your smartphone. Every single cognitive function you have burns this fuel, but, and this is the absolute key from the research decision-making, is incredibly expensive. It is a premium, energy-guzzling activity for the brain.
Expensive how?
It burns through your glucose reserves faster than almost anything else. Every time you have to ask yourself a question and weigh options, you are draining that battery. What should I wear today? Drain. What should I have for breakfast? Drain. When should I do my workout? Should I do it now or maybe after breakfast? Or maybe I'll try to go for a run at lunch.
You're running all these background apps that are just killing your battery life before you even get started.
Precisely. If you wake up and have to ask, when should I do this? You are wasting your precious morning fuel on deciding to drive rather than actually driving the car.
Yeah.
By the time you finally decide to do the workout, you're already mentally tired. You have less willpower left to actually execute the physical movement.
This is the whole Steve Jobs thing, right? He wore the same black turtleneck every single day. One less decision to make.
Exactly. It's the elimination of trivial decisions. And this is where the Zen solution of non-negotiable hours comes into play.
Yeah.
The source talks about the Ihai Temple in Japan.
Yeah, this bit was wild.
Since the year 1200 AD, so think about that for a second. Since the Middle Ages, a bell has rung at that temple every single day at 3:30 in the morning.
3:30 a.m. That is aggressive. I don't think I could handle
It's
that.
extremely aggressive. But here's the critical thing. The monks do not wake up at 3:25. They do not wake up at 3:35. They wake up at 3:30 every day for over 800 years. But the crucial mindset shift is this. No monk lies in bed at 3:29 thinking, man, I'm really comfy right now. Maybe I'll just sleep in today.
That thought doesn't even occur to them. It's not an option.
The question does not exist in their reality. It has been totally eliminated. The bell rings, the feet hit the floor. There's no gap, no space for the negotiation to enter. The time isn't a suggestion. For them, it's a law of physics.
So Raphael adopted this. He picked 5:00 a.m. But I have to ask, was he a morning person? Because I am definitely not. If I see 5:00 a.m., it's usually because I stayed up way too late, not because I woke up early.
No, and that's a really critical point for anyone listening. He was not a morning person. He didn't choose 5 a.m. because he wanted to seize the day or watch the sunrise or be part of the so-called 5 a.m. club. He chose it for purely defensive reasons. He chose it for the silence.
No emails.
No emails. No Slack messages pinging. No kids yelling for breakfast. No construction noise outside. The goal wasn't optimization. The goal was the complete elimination of excuses. If you try to schedule your workout for 5:00 p.m., what happens?
Well, life happens. A meeting runs late, you're hungry, your friend calls you and wants to get drinks, the subway's delayed, a million things.
Exactly. The world gets a vote. At 5 a.m., the world is asleep. The world has no vote. You are the only variable in the equation.
So if you don't do it, it's 100% on you. There's no one else to blame.
Yes. And by fixing the hour, by making it as rigid and unchangeable as that temple bell, you remove time as a variable. If you try to fit your habit in whenever you have time, you are forcing your brain to make a new, difficult decision every single day. You're inviting the negotiation back in. By fixing the hour, you kill the negotiation before it can even start.
And here is where reality hits for me. What does that actually feel like? Because in the notes, Raphael didn't just snap his fingers and turn into a robot overnight. That first week sounded absolutely brutal.
It was hell.
Uh-huh.
And I really appreciate the source for being so honest about this part. Week 1 is not a victory lap. Week 1 is a war. Your body actively fights the new pattern. You're tired, you're grumpy, your entire biology is in open rebellion. You are essentially giving yourself jet lag in your own house.
But then week 2 happens.
Then week 2 happens. Adaptation. This is the miracle of the human machine. By the second week, Raphael started waking up 2 minutes before the alarm.
His body learned the new rhythm.
And by day 14, there was movement without thought. The alarm would go off and his feet would hit the floor before his conscious mind even fully engaged. He reported being on his feet before he even realized he was awake. This is the incredible power of the fixed hour. You cannot negotiate with a constant.
So he's got the public pressure to get him started. He's got the fixed time to stop the negotiation. He's really locking it in. But then he made a mistake. A classic rookie mistake. And honestly, this is the mistake I think almost everyone, including me, makes when they try to build a new routine. He tried to keep it interesting.
Ah, yes. The great variety is the spice of life trap.
Right. We hear this advice constantly. It's in magazines, it's from fitness influencers. They all say, mix it up. You need muscle confusion. Don't let your routine get stale or you'll get bored and quit.
And according to the source and the core principles of Gyoji, that is absolutely terrible advice if your goal is unbreakable consistency. Might be good for entertainment, but it is poison for discipline. Variety is the enemy.
Hold on. Why is variety the enemy? Isn't boredom the thing that makes us quit most of the time?
No. Complexity is what makes us quit. Raphael had the time fixed 5:00 a.m. Solid. But every morning, he would wake up and decide what to do. Maybe meditation today. Maybe reading tomorrow. Maybe some push-ups the day after.
That seems reasonable. I mean, he's still being productive. He's still up at 5 a.m.
It seems reasonable on the surface, but do you see what he did? He reintroduced micro-decisions. His brain immediately started negotiating the content of the practice. Should I read today? I'm kind of tired, so maybe I'll just read. No, but I should probably work out. The negotiation he killed regarding the time just moved over to the activity.
It's like a game of whack-a-mole. You smack down one excuse and another one just pops up somewhere else.
That's the perfect analogy. And this brings us to Dogen's teaching on forms. Dogen was a famous Zen master, and his teaching is very controversial to the modern mind. He taught that you must do exactly the same thing every single day without deviation until the mind surrenders.
So Raphael had to lock it down completely.
Totally. He created a strict, unchangeable sequence, and he did not deviate. 20 push-ups, then 10 minutes of meditation, then 10 minutes of reading. Same order, same time, same sequence, every single day.
And again, the people around him, his normal friends, they didn't get it. They called him robotic. His girlfriend even called it annoying.
And my absolute favorite line from the expert in the source is, annoying was exactly the point.
Why is annoying the point? What does that even mean?
Because the goal isn't entertainment. It's not supposed to be fun and exciting every day. The goal is automation. The source references an MIT researcher who studied this for 12 years. We need to talk about the basal ganglia.
The basal ganglia, that sounds like a sci-fi villain. What is it?
It's a primal structure deep in the center of your brain. It's responsible for pattern matching, habit formation, and motor control. It works very, very differently from your prefrontal cortex, which is where your conscious thinking and deciding happens.
Okay, so the prefrontal cortex is the CEO sitting in the corner office making all the big decisions. What's the basal ganglia?
The basal ganglia is the autopilot system in the cockpit. The research shows there's a threshold, and it's approximately 66 days. If you repeat an action in the exact same context, same time, same place, same sequence, for about 66 days, control of that behavior shifts from the CEO in the prefrontal cortex down to the autopilot in the basal ganglia.
So it moves from active thinking to automatic doing.
Think about a dancer learning a complex piece of choreography. At first, it's all prefrontal cortex. It's slow, it's clumsy. They're counting the steps in their head. Left foot here, right foot there, turn, hold for 2. It requires intense, exhausting focus. They are deciding every single movement.
Right, and they look stiff and awkward while they're doing it.
But eventually, after enough repetition, the shift happens. The music plays, and the body just moves without conscious thought. The dancer isn't thinking, move left foot now. The body just knows. That is the basal ganglia taking over.
And Raphael experienced this, right, around week 6.
Yes. By week 6, he reported that he would be halfway through his set of push-ups before he even consciously realized he had started.
That is just wild to me.
That is the state of Gyoji. You are not deciding to do it. You are not motivating yourself to do it. You are simply doing it. You have removed the friction of thought.
This sounds amazing. It really does. But I have to play devil's advocate here. Life happens. And this is the part where I personally always fall off the wagon. You can have the best routine in the world, the best 5:00 a.m. slot, but what happens when you get the flu? What happens when you have to travel for work and you're in a different time zone?
Consistency killers.
Exactly. And in the story, Raphael hits this wall, and he hits it hard. Day 35, he gets a nasty flu. Day 40, he has a massive work trip. And normally, this is where we say, okay, I'm sick, I need to rest. Or I'm traveling, I'll just pick it up again when I get home. That sounds like common sense.
And that common sense is the all-or-nothing lie that destroys consistency. This is where the no-gap philosophy, the absolute core of Gyoji, is most critical. Dogen's philosophy is that practice must be continuous no matter what, because any gap allows the old negotiating self to crawl back in.
So you're saying he should do his 20 push-ups while he has a 102-degree fever. That sounds ill-advised, medically speaking.
Well, this is where we need nuance.
Mm.
And the source uses a beautiful analogy here to explain it. The river.
The river, okay.
The river never stops flowing. During a drought, it might shrink to a tiny trickle. It might be barely moving at all, but it flows. If it stops completely, it is no longer a river. It is just a dry bed, a memory of where water used to be.
I like that imagery a lot. So the intensity can change, but the flow itself cannot stop.
Precisely. There is a massive difference between strategic rest and a reactive retreat. Elite athletes rest intentionally. It's part of their training. They rest so they can come back and train even harder. But skipping your practice because you are too busy or don't feel like it or because the conditions aren't perfect, that is a retreat. That is reactive. That is the old self taking the wheel again.
So how did Raphael handle the travel? Because airports are terrible places for any kind of routine. They feel like they're designed to disrupt your life.
He embraced imperfect action over perfect inaction. And this scene in the notes is just, it's visceral. He was at the airport at 4 a.m. for an early flight. He went into the men's bathroom.
Oh, no, I know where this is going.
And he did his push-ups on the bathroom floor.
Crohn's. The floor of an airport bathroom, that's a level of dedication I'm not sure I possess. And it's also disgusting.
It is. It really is. And the source is people were walking in and just looking at him like he had completely lost his mind. He then meditated in the back of the Uber to the hotel. He did his reading on the plane. Was it his best workout ever? Absolutely not. Was it a deep transcendental meditation session? Probably not. But the momentum was maintained. The chain was not broken. This is Gyoji.
He didn't break the chain.
He proved to his own brain that the environment does not dictate the practice. The practice dictates the environment. If you only practice when the conditions are perfect, you are not disciplined. You are just lucky.
Wow. That's a powerful shift in perspective. The practice dictates the environment. But to actually pull that off, to have the presence of mind to do push-ups in a bathroom, that requires some serious pre-planning. You can't just wing that in the moment.
No, you absolutely can't. If you try to decide what to do while you are standing in the chaotic TSA line, you will fail. And that brings us to the next major pillar of this entire system, pre-solutions, or what the source calls the if X then Y strategy.
This is like the disaster recovery plan for your habit.
Yes, exactly. The host in the source asks about sick kids, car breakdowns, late nights at the office, the sheer chaos of real life. The problem is, if you try to make a decision during the chaos, you will always fail.
Because of the glucose and decision fatigue thing again?
Exactly. It's decision fatigue under extreme stress. When you are stressed, your amygdala, the fear center, activates and takes over. Your prefrontal cortex, the logic and reason center, basically shuts down. Your brain defaults to the path of least resistance. It wants safety. It wants comfort. It will choose give up.
So you have to make the decision before the stress ever happens. You have to decide what to do while you are still calm and rational.
The source cites a Yale behavioral psychologist study on this. It's a concept called implementation intentions. The study showed that when people pre-decide their actions for specific scenarios, it removes the decision fatigue from that critical moment. It keeps the prefrontal cortex, your willpower, intact for pure execution, rather than burning it all on decision.
The example of the Zen monastery disaster protocols was fascinating here. It really drove the point home.
It's an extreme example, but it's so illustrative. How do these ancient monasteries handle earthquakes or fires? They don't call a committee meeting. They don't brainstorm solutions. There is a protocol that was decided long ago. If hall floods to Dokenet, go to dining hall. If fires, go to courtyard.
It's completely automatic. It's a script. There's no thinking involved.
The reaction is automatic because the decision was made centuries ago. Raphael applied this exact same logic to his own life. He sat down and wrote a physical list of every single obstacle that had ever stopped him in the past.
He literally made a list of his own excuses.
And then he created specific if X, then Y scripts for every single one of them.
Can you give us some examples of what he actually wrote down?
Sure. He had things like, if it is raining second, push-ups in the garage instead of the yard. If guests are staying at the house, silent workout in the bathroom so I don't wake them. And my favorite one, if hungover.
Hopefully that's not happening too often if he's doing this routine, but hey, it's realistic.
It is. But he had a plan for it. If hungover, do 2 push-ups, 1 minute of meditation, and read 1 page of the book.
The trickle approach from the river analogy.
The river approach. The point is, he stopped wasting energy wondering, oh no, what do I do now? The answer was already written down. He just had to execute the script. It takes all the emotion and panic out of the crisis.
This sounds incredibly effective, but I want to circle back to something we touched on earlier. We talked about how this behavior looks to other people. We're at day 70, day 90 now. Raphael is completely locked in. He's waking up. His body is moving like a machine. He's doing push-ups in airport bathrooms.
He has completed his ANGO, his personal 3-month intensive practice period.
And the people around him, his friends, his critics, their attitude shifted. They went from making jokes and saying, you're trying too hard, to saying your consistency is scary.
Scary, that's the word they used.
But they also started saying other things. Things like, you're obsessive, or you really need more balance, or that's not healthy.
And this is the so-called dark side of high performance. Or rather, it's the social friction that high performance creates. This is the classic crabs in a bucket mentality. And the expert in the source has a very sharp, very pointed interpretation of these comments.
What's the take? Because it feels bad when your friends start to criticize your improvement.
The take is this. When people say, that's not normal, take it as the highest compliment. It means you are on the right track. Because normal people get normal results.
Ouch. That's true, but ouch.
And the critics, often, they want you to slow down. Not because they are genuinely worried about your health, though they might even believe they are, but because your movement, your progress, makes them feel bad about their own stillness.
It's that mirror again.
Exactly. If you are changing, and they are not, your discipline becomes a silent accusation. Without you saying a single word, your very existence asks them, why aren't you doing this? So they say things like, you need balance, so they can feel better about their own lack of discipline. Oh, I don't do that because I believe in having a balanced life. It's a very clever defense mechanism.
You have to be willing to be misunderstood. You have to be willing to be the villain in their story for a little while.
You have to be willing to be the obsessive one. You have to be willing to be the person who isn't normal. Because normal is the cycle of starting on Monday and quitting on Friday.
And this leads us to the ultimate goal of Gyoji. Because it's not really about the push-ups, is it? We've spent this whole deep dive talking about routines and schedules, but that's just the surface level?
No. The push-ups are completely irrelevant. The reading is irrelevant. The goal isn't to get buff or to become well-read, though those might be nice side effects. The goal is identity transformation.
That shift from doing to being.
You stop being someone who tries to be disciplined. You become someone who simply is consistent. The source uses very dramatic language here, and I think it's appropriate. It says it's not about discipline. It's about death and rebirth.
The death of the old self.
The death of the inconsistent self. The death of the negotiator. The death of the person who always says, I'll do it on Monday. And the rebirth of the unbreakable self.
That's heavy. But it makes perfect sense. If you do something for 90 days without a single gap, without a single excuse, through illness and travel and everything else, you are a different person at the end of it. It's not just a metaphor.
You have literally rewritten your neural pathways. You have rewritten your social contract with everyone around you. You have rewritten your own self-image. You are no longer Raphael the programmer who always quits his gym routines. You are the person who does the work, period. And once you become that person, you can apply that new power to anything in your life.
Okay, let's try to unpack all of this for the listener, because we've covered a lot of ground, and I want to make sure we leave people with a clear map. We started with that scary consistency, that robotic efficiency that sets these people apart from everyone else.
Which, we learned, is built on the foundation of Gyoji, continuous practice without gaps.
Then we talked about the public declaration, making your goal an irreversible commitment so that your brain treats failure not as a disappointment, but as a genuine survival threat. You're trapping yourself into success.
Using that identity language.
Yeah.
I am a person who does X, not I will try to do X.
We talked about the science of the when, eliminating that decision fatigue and the glucose burn by fixing the time of your practice, making it non-negotiable.
Removing the snooze button mentality from your entire life. The decision becomes binary. The time comes, the action happens, no debate.
Then we discussed why variety is the enemy. How doing the exact same boring routine over and over again automates the behavior in the basal ganglia, freeing up your conscious mind.
Boring is effective. Novelty is a trap for consistency. You have to be boring to become exceptional.
We covered the no-gap philosophy, that powerful river analogy. Imperfect action is infinitely better than perfect inaction.
Never let the river stop flowing, even if it's just a trickle of 2 push-ups in an airport bathroom.
And finally, the pre-solutions. The if X then Y scripts to handle the chaos of real life so your prefrontal cortex doesn't crash and burn when you're stressed.
Deciding before the disaster so you don't have to think when you're under pressure.
It's a complete system. It's incredibly intense, I'm not going to lie. It sounds exhausting just talking about it. But at the same time, I see the appeal. I can see why it works so powerfully.
It is exhausting to install. I won't sugarcoat that. The first few weeks are a battle. But once the system is running, it is actually far less exhausting than the alternative.
How so? That seems counterintuitive.
Think about how much mental energy you spend every day negotiating with yourself. Should I go to the gym? Ugh, I'm so tired.
Yeah.
But I should go? But I went yesterday. That internal debate is a constant, low-level drain on your battery. Gyoji removes the debate. You just go. In a way, it is the ultimate freedom. It's freedom from your own excuses.
That is a fascinating way to look at it. Freedom through restriction.
Precisely.
So, for everyone listening, we aren't saying you have to become a Zen monk. We aren't saying you have to wake up at 3:30 a.m. But maybe there is one thing, one habit you've been trying and failing to build for years.
And maybe it's time to stop trying.
Maybe it's time to write that contract. Sign it, post it somewhere public, tell your most skeptical friends, let them call you crazy.
Let them call you excessive.
And just see what happens when you finally kill the negotiator in your head.
I think a final provocative thought here, based on everything we've read, is really a challenge to you, the listener. The question isn't, can you do this? Because physically you almost certainly can. The real question is, are you ready to kill the person you are today to become the person you want to be?
That is the question. The goal is to reach a point where skipping a day feels impossible, not just bad. Where you are so locked in that normal looks like failure.
That is the way of Gyoji.
So identify your public declaration, find your non-negotiable when, and don't stop the flow. Thanks for listening to this deep dive.
Keep practicing.
We'll see you next time. Keep diving deep.